All right, got that. Shalom, shalom. What's going on? What's going on? What's this? Facebook, YouTube. We back at it again. We about to get it in.
They were very ignorant about.
Just give me 1 second. I gotta get my TikTok rolling. You know, we was cut off for about 15 hours, but we back in the game. Y'all know how it go. You know. Let's see where we at. Okay, effects. Yeah, I guess that's what I want. Need pictures. Where the pictures at? We're gonna rock out like that. Yeah, we're gonna rock out like that. Most High in Christ. Man, that's my guy. Father be with me. Man. Let's get it. Here we go. So we about to get it cracking, get it rolling, man. What's going on, everybody? What's going on TikTok? Let me get this going. You know, TikTok, you got to play with it a little different. Here we go. All right, let's see. Hold on. Come on now. Lord, TikTok. Stop playing. There we go. All right. Let's rock. Shalom, shalom. I'm Priest and Officer Yahweh Thumb of the ISUPK. We teach Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible, history, archaeology, and anything else you may need for your understanding. Today is the official Dayton Law class. And not only will we be getting into that, we'll be getting into a little bit of the history of being a Christian or Christianity. So I definitely want to run into those topics and get it going here in a second. If anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to put it in the chat. There is no question. There is no wrong questions. We only give answers here, and these are biblical answers. You understand? If we can't support it with the word of the Lord, we're not going to give it. So, like I said, the topic is being a Christian or Christianity. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding because us in the truth will say, well, I know I made the statement, but I know my brothers will support it. No Christian serves the Most High God. Not one. Not one. Not one Christian serves the Most High God. Why do I say that? It's not because they're willingly or they're actively trying not to serve him. That's not what I'm saying. I understand. I'll say at least half the Christians probably truly want to serve the Most High God. No problem there. I get that. I was one of them. So believe me, I understand that wholeheartedly. I was one of them. Like in my head, I thought I was serving the Most High God. That's why I went so hard for it. You understand? So I'm not knocking it in the sense of that. But there is a reality to serving the Most High God. And Lord allow, we'll be able to get into that a little bit later tonight. So I want to start off with this verse right here. Let me get my 1 second. So I want to start off with this verse here. This is Romans chapter 10, verse. Well, I'm going to start from 1 and read 1 and 2. It's Romans 10, 1 and 2. And it says, brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God is for Israel is that they might be saved. So it starts off in Romans 10 saying, brethren, meaning brothers, my people, my kinsmen. Remember, Romans chapter 9, he just got done breaking down who his brothers was. He said, Romans 9 and 3, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. So he's talking about his kinfolk, his blood folk, meaning who he gonna go to that family barbecue with, all them folk. You understand? What we don't realize today is we were a nation of people, and we still are to the Most High God. It's just to us we're not. To us, we're American. So yeah, we are people, but we're a people within the whole scope of America. And that's not how God looks at us. God said, no, you're your own nation. And Paul understood that. That's why he goes on to say, brethren or brother, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved, right? Not Christians, but Israel, meaning the nation, whether you're a Christian or not. He wants Israel to be saved. You understand? Whether you're a Buddhist, Muslim, whatever, he wants Israel to be saved, because it's not about your religion. Your religion is irrelevant to serving the Most High God. Your religion is the thing that's actually holding you back. You understand? When we're going to get into that, I understand a lot of people hear that and say, oh, no, I can't listen to this. I understand. Just give me a little bit of time. I promise we're going to get into it. But listen to verse 2. This is the heavy part. This is one of the verses that helped me realize maybe I need to check into what I'm doing a little bit more. Romans 10 and 2, it says, for I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. See, I had to check myself. Do you have a zeal for God? I said, heck yeah, I got a zeal for God. That's who I rock with. Okay, so what's your knowledge of God? And I said, well, shoot, I know he God, and I know Jesus. Okay, well, who are they? Well, you know, they the people of the Bible. Who are the people of the Bible? I don't know. Something about Hebrew or Israel or something. I don't know, but it don't matter. We all one. And when I started to realize I'm saying a lot of those type phrases, meaning I'm saying things because I know I don't know it, but I'm too prideful to say I don't know. I had to realize something. I got a zeal for God, but it's not according to knowledge. Because I couldn't tell you what a Moabite is. I couldn't tell you what a Hittite was. You understand? I couldn't tell you what Esau, what's that? You understand? I didn't know a lot of the biblical characters. I just knew I had a zeal for God and I wanted to serve him. And that's a good thing. That's a great foundation. But it has to be according to knowledge. If it ain't according to knowledge, what are you doing? Then one thing that helped me, I was like, okay, I'm a Christian. Cool. I'm a Christian. So when I serve the Most High God, we say December 25th is Christ's birthday, right? I said, cool. How do you know that? And I had to think about it. And I'm like, because that's what I was told. It's Christ's birthday, right? We only celebrate it because it's Christ's birthday. Okay. Then I had to ask myself, okay, so obviously you don't know it's not Christ's birthday because you can't even prove that. But let me ask you a deeper question. If it's truly Christ's birthday, what do you do on that day for him? I try to get as many gifts as I can get. I try to hold on. You see, something ain't adding up. It ain't adding up. Because in reality, when you actually check yourself, this is what this is about. We got to check ourselves. When you check yourself, you say, I'm a Christian. Okay. What about that solidifies that you serve the Most High God? Outside of feeling it when they start playing that music, and you start jumping up and down, and all the big hat women start shaking those big old rumbling booties. But what about it truly makes you understand that you serve the Most High God? Like, how can you go in the scriptures and say, I serve the Most High God? When I asked myself these questions, it was hard. And I had to check myself. I had to check myself because I couldn't. So now we're going to get into it a little bit. So let's get it. Let's get it. Like you said, got a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. You understand? So now let's get into it. I think we got a question. Somebody said, where do you go when you die? Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean? You don't really go anywhere, but how about this? Someone asked, where do you go when you die? So I'll answer that question and we'll get into it. Good Lord, I don't want to hear you. Stop. Hold on. Give me one second. Let me see. Okay. There we go. Okay. Where do you go when you die? Let's see. I'll try to get one verse to sum it up for you. This is Psalms. What do I want? Is it 131? 131. Nope, not 131. Matter of fact, let me find it. No, I know where it is. The book of Psalms. Give me 1 second. That's forgiveness. Afflicted my youth with the grass, blah. Right. Right. Most High in Christ. I mean, once I hate when I forget the verses that I know. That's not it. All right, I'm gonna have to look it up. All right, let me see. Let's see if I can find it this way. If not, I'll just give you the simple verse. The one I'm looking for kind of breaks it all the way down. That's not what I want. You know what's crazy about this? I was literally just going over this verse probably about within the past month. Within the past month, I was going over this verse. Now I don't forgot it. There we go. That's what I wanted. Most High in Christ. Woo! Sometimes the Lord got to be with you. All right. So I think the brother asked, where do you go when you die? This is Psalms 104. And I'm going to start at... I'm going to start at 29. We're going to read through. Psalms 104, 29. So it says, thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath, they die. So this is going into what the brother asks. Where do you go when you die? So the Lord takes our breath, we die. And return to their dust. So when we die, we return to the dust. I'm sure everybody understands that. From ashes to ashes. I'm sure we all have heard those terms, right? Let's keep reading. Verse 30. Thou sendest forth thy spirit. So now the physical you, your body, goes to the ashes. But the spirit that's within you, you know, that soul, you know why we say we got soul food, soul singers, that brother play with soul, that sister got soul, that soul. Listen to what happens with that. Thou sendest forth thy spirit, they are created, and thou renewest the face of the earth. So that spirit goes back to the Most High. It goes back to him for the judgment, and he sends it forth back to the earth where we are created, and we renew the face of the earth. So just like use me for an example. The spirit that's in me, was then definitely in another man of the same people, of the same tribe, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Same thing with every man and woman on this earth. It's in that, it's the same spirit. That spirit is what's renewing the earth. This is why people say, man, they got an old soul, man. It's something about them. You know, it's something about yourself. The older you get, the more you start to get in touch with that old spirit, that old soul, because you've been, that spirit, that soul has been here before. This also goes into what Christ was trying to tell the people about John the Baptist when they said, but don't we wait on Elijah? I'm paraphrasing. He said, y'all don't even realize that Elijah already came. He was John the Baptist. John the Baptist himself wasn't Elijah, but the same spirit that was in Elijah was in John the Baptist. You understand? So that's what happens when you die. You understand? Your body goes back to the dust, ash to ashes. We put you 6 feet deep. That spirit, as soon as that body dies, that spirit goes back to the Most High. Most High gives judgment of that spirit, and we come back here to live the life of the judgment that we give here on earth. If you need more scriptures, I can give them to you. Just ask, no sweat. So now, and if anybody else wants more of a breakdown on that, feel free to ask. You understand? I just wanted to give them a quick little verse. So now, but back to the topic at hand, Christianity. Being a Christian, either or, same thing in my book. We got to look at the history of this. You understand? We got to look at the history of being a Christian and what it truly means, because a lot of us just accept it. A lot of us, we just, ooh, my grandmother was a Christian, my granddaddy ran a church, my mama brung me up into this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, no sweat. But what does it truly mean? And that's where we got to get to that point. You know what I mean? So this is what I want to do. I'm going to read every verse where we can find the word Christian in the Bible. Now, this might blow your mind. I don't know, but this might blow your mind. But guess what? There's only 3 places. There's only 3 places that you can find the word Christian or Christians in the Bible. So now think about this. 3 places that we find the word Christian in the Bible, and we made a whole religion out of it. If being a Christian was truly the way, do you really think it would only be in there 3 times? Now, let's try this on for size. I'm about to see how many times can you find the word Israel in the Bible? Let's see. You know what's funny? The word Christian is in the Bible 3 times through the Old, New, and Apocrypha. Israel is in the Bible 77 times, and that's just in the New Testament. I didn't want to throw the Old Testament in there because I know that can make Christians feel uncomfortable. But even in the New Testament, I mean, the word Israel is in there, what, a good 20 more times? No, more than that. About 20, 25 more times than Christian. Meaning the theme of the Bible has to be something that's repetitive. The fact that you see Israel in there is a very repetitive theme. We don't see Christian at all. You say, how many times do you see ISUPK? The words ISUPK, of course, the words are not in the Bible, but the spirit of the ISUPK you can find from Genesis to Revelation. And that thing I can show you. I can also show you where there were sects in the Bible. Christ was a part of a sect. Christ was the head of a sect. So, I mean, I'm not sure what that question proved. Anything outside of the fact that we are the truth. So now, let's go back to Christian. We're going to read every verse that we see the word Christian, and we're going to break down those verses. We're going to see what it's truly saying, what it truly means. All right, so let's do that. First, we got Acts 11. Acts 11, 26. Hey, Shalom. What's going on, sis? Good to see you. Hope all is well. It's cold. I know, boy, it's cold, man. It is cold. I don't know where y'all at, but it's probably cold or hot. It's probably cold. Yeah. But in Dayton, Ohio, boy, I seen temperatures at -6. Blew my mind. I ain't seen that in ever. So y'all stay warm. Keep them babies warm, man. So now, Acts 11 and 26. Let's break this down. It says, and when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christian first in Antioch. That's heavy. So we got Acts. I'm just writing it down. Acts 11 and 26. They were called Christian first at Antioch. Now, let's see what this is truly saying. So, when they say they were called Christian first at Antioch, let's go look up that word. Let's go look it up. We're gonna see if this was a religion or what was the true meaning of this. You know what I'm saying? What was the true meaning of being called Christian first? Yeah, facts. I can't stand this stuff, sis. I ain't gonna lie. I cannot stand this cold. Believe me, I'm not made for that. I told Cap, if I'm ever mad and tripping, all you got to do is put me in the freezer or something, because that'll heal my anger. I will stop being mad right then and there. I'm not even mad no more. I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. I just want to get warm. I cannot stand the cold. This is not brother weather at all. So now let's get it. Acts 11 and 26. Let's go break this down. So we go to Acts 11, 26. We're going to look for that word Christian. And then we're going to break down what it's truly saying. So Christian, it says Christian, a follower of Christ. A follower of Christ, right? So now, all it's saying is these people were following Christ. The word is really irrelevant because people were following Christ before they were called Christian. Like, I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but you have to put that in your mind. Remember, it said they were called Christian, meaning they didn't call themselves that. People seen them following Christ and said, oh, they're Christians. That's what was going on. It wasn't like they were following Christ and saying, oh my God, we're Christians. They didn't think like that. You understand? When they were following Christ, they understood they were Israelites following the Messiah or following their king. That's how they looked at it. But people that seen them doing it called them Christians because they were following Christ. Joseph asked a good question. He said, so if someone says they're a Christian, that means they follow Christ. And that's why I'm bringing this out now, because that's what it should mean. But we're going to look at actions that prove Christians today do not follow Christ. Ask any Christian today, when's the last time they kept the Feast of Dedication? Christ kept it. Ask any Christian today that. Ask any Christian today, have they either forsook or in all ways stopped eating pork, shrimp, crab, or lobster? Because Christ never ate that. Never. You understand? Ask them, what feast day have they ever kept? Have they kept the Passover? Feast of Tabernacles? What? No Christian today can say they do the things that Christ did while he was on earth. They'll tell you, well, I'm kind, I'm nice to people, this, that, and the third. I'm going to tell you right now, Satan is kind. Why do you think most of us fall for him? Because he comes as an angel of light. It talks about that, right? He comes as an angel of light, meaning he's coming in a kind spirit. He has smooth words. You know, he's all this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, that don't mean nothing. Are you obedient to what God put in play from the beginning? And that's what Christ came to show us how to do. And Christians today don't do that. Christians today follow the religion of Christianity. And we're going to get into the history of that here in a second. As soon as we break down these verses, I got a history book that's going to give us some insight to what Christianity today is truly about. Said, do you follow every law? I follow every law that's for me. I'll give you an example. there's a law for sisters that when they're on their flower or on their cycle, they're bleeding, that they have to be separate in a certain manner. I don't follow that law because I don't bleed. So I don't keep that law. You understand? But every law that is made for me to keep, yes, I do keep. I don't disobey any of those laws because Christ kept those laws and he didn't disobey any of those laws. So, yes, I do. So you can ask me about any law. I'll say, yes, I kept it. You sacrifice when you sin. Well, I don't sin. 2, Christ is my sacrifice. Understand that. Christ is our sacrifice. That's and I'm not knocking you, Joseph. This ain't got nothing to do, but that's the one thing when you bring up the law, Christians want to go, they show their ignorance. This is why I started, Joseph, you probably weren't here, but the first verse that I don't, when I say I never sin, meaning I stopped sinning. There was a time I did sin, yes, but I stopped sinning and I sin no more. So no, I do not sin anymore. But in this shows the ignorance of Christianity. The verse I started off, this is why I started off with the verse, Romans 10:2. For they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. It shows the lack of knowledge when the first thing I say is I keep the law, and the first thing you say is, well, do you sacrifice? What are you saying Christ means nothing? Because what does this say? We got to go to the scriptures on that, because what does Christ say? Listen to this. This is Hebrews. If I can get there, good Lord. This is why I don't do physical sacrifices. You understand? This is Hebrews 9:15. And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, talking about Christ, right? That by means of death, right, his death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament. Those are the children of Israel. So he is the redemption. He is my sacrifice, right? They which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. You understand? Because he is the sacrifice. So no, I don't do that because I actually honor and follow Christ. If that's what you got out of it, Lord be with you. Right, there is none good but the Father, because we have all sinned. I don't deny that I've sinned, but I do not sin anymore. I do not sin any longer. All right, I'll give you an example. I was sinning when I ate pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. When I found out I couldn't do it, guess what? I stopped eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. So now when it comes to pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, I do not sin anymore because I stopped doing it. I did it at one point, and then I stopped doing it. You understand? That's why I say, no, I do not sin. Because when I found out what sin was, I stopped doing it. That's why Paul said, I would not know sin except according to the law. The only way you know sin is according to the law. So you can't say if you sin or not if you don't know the law. Once I learned the law, I stopped sinning. It was very simple. Just like that. So now, let's get back to it. So Acts 11, where we at? Acts 11:26. So when it says, and when he had found them, he brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. So they were assembling themselves, meaning gathering together and teaching a lot of people, teaching much of the Israelites in where they were at. And when they were doing this, people were looking at them, not them themselves, but people were looking at them and saying, Christian, you guys are Christians. It's almost like a byword or a derogatory term. And I'm going to prove that. Let's prove it. So now, remember, 11:26 said, and when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christian first at Antioch. Here's your precept to understand that. They were called Christians first at Antioch. Now, let's get a precept to understand that. Christians first at Antioch. That's heavy. So now we're going to go to Acts 13. Boom. Acts 13:1. Listen to this. Listen closely. It says, Now there were in the church that was at Antioch so now we're at the same church at Antioch, right? Certain prophets and teachers is Barnabas and Simeon that was called Niger, right? And Lucius of Cyrene and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. So now there were plenty of people at this church at Antioch, and guess what? They were called Niger. Now, why did I bring us here? Because it's the same church, the same place, doing the same thing. But instead of calling them Christians, they were called Niger. But guess what you learn about the word Niger? Let's look this up. Now, I know most people's not going to be able to see this. I'm going to try. So it says Niger equals black. So Niger is just another derogatory term. This also shows that the Israelites were black. But Niger means black, meaning they were calling them black people. Oh, those black people. But guess what they were really saying? Niger, black, a Christian. So guess what? The word Niger and Christian were essentially the same thing at this time. Meaning, if someone called you a Niger or a Christian, they were saying the same thing. It was a derogatory term. They weren't calling you by a religion. They were calling you a byword or a derogatory term. And they were just saying, those black people over there following Christ, those black people following Christ, what's wrong with those darkies? That's what was going on. That's what you're reading when you read the word Christian. You're not reading a religion. You're reading a byword, a derogatory term that also means Niger or nigga. Same thing. In the Bible, the word Christian and nigga means the same thing. Bet they didn't tell you that in Sunday school. So, now that we understand that in the Bible, Christian has never meant religion, it only means a follower of Christ, and or the same thing as Niger, or what we would say today as nigga. Let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. Let's see where else we can find this word. So, 1 Peter 4:16. It says, yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. Now think about that in context of what we just learned. It says, but if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed. What that's saying is, look, black man, if you suffer as a follower of Christ, don't be ashamed. You understand? This is the same spirit that a slave revoltist would say, hey, look, if any man suffer as a nigger, don't be ashamed. Suffer for the sake of our people. Suffer for the sake of our king. It's the same spirit in that what verse is that? Which verse? Are you talking about the verse that proves that Niger or nigga and Christian are the same? If that's what you're looking for, that would be Acts 11:26 and Acts 13:1. Okay, Acts 13:1 is what I just read is 1 Peter 4:16. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. So before we read this, what I did was break down the word Christian. When you break it down, it means a follower of Christ, but it's also a byword, because anytime you see it in the Bible, it's not the people that's following Christ that's actually calling themselves Christian. It's the people watching them follow Christ that's calling them Christian, meaning they're being called this name. They didn't put this name on themselves. You understand? They didn't say, oh, I follow Christ, I'm a Christian. You will not find that in the Bible of the real followers of Christ. You won't find that. But you will see where people that seen them following Christ who were not so-called Christians were looking at them and calling them Christian. So we broke that down. Then we went to, like I said, Acts 13:1, and it literally says the same thing pretty much as Acts 11:26. The only difference is, in one instance, it used the word Christian. In the Acts 13:1, it used the word Niger. Niger is what we commonly know as today is nigga, but the word means black. So it was a derogatory term. Christian in Niger or nigga is a derogatory term that they put on the priests and prophets at that time that were following Christ. That's all it is. So now when we get to 1 Peter 4 and 16, when it says, yet if any man suffer as a Christian, suffering as a Christian and suffering as a nigga at this time is the same exact thing. The reason he's saying, yet if any man suffer as a Christian is because that's what they have been being called. So, okay, you know what? They're going to call us that, no sweat. If any man suffer as a Christian, hey, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. Meaning, this is how you stand strong for the Lord on this behalf. Let him call us a Christian. That ain't got nothing to do with us. We just going to keep serving God. But being called a Christian and being called black or Niger is the exact same thing in the Bible. And that's what they don't teach us in Sunday school. It's the same thing. I dare anybody to prove me wrong. Anybody. Now that we understand that, now let's get the history on the religious aspect of Christianity. Let's get the history of the religious aspect of Christianity, right? So, I got a book. You said to me, Christian means you believe Christ, the laws are done away and he was nailed. Okay, I understand what it means to you, but what does it mean to the men of the Bible? What does it mean to God? You got to understand. They never call themselves Christian. What does it mean to the real men that serve the Lord, the men and women that serve the Lord? It means, you got to understand, in the Bible, it was always someone calling them Christian. They were never calling themselves Christian. And I would also ask you to find a verse that supports your belief. I can find verses that support my belief. I just read 3 of them. And I gave you the definition of the word Christian and Niger. And it all adds up. Show me in the Bible where it says what you say. That's all. Give me the verse that says that. We can get into that. I know what you're saying, but give me the verse that says that. We can get into that with the Nicolaitans. All right, so now let's get a little bit of the history. So this is Babylon and Timbuktu. I don't know if anybody can see this. Good Lord. I'm trying to, there we go. Babylon to Timbuktu. Let me take it back. Yeah. So this is the book, Babylon and Timbuktu. Anyway, so I'm reading from page, it's a lot of good information in here, but I'm reading from page 125. Okay, page 125. Again, if you got any questions or comments, put them in the chat. Feel free. There is no wrong question. This is an open forum. You understand? We just getting into the history of things. So this is page 125, right? We'll start at the bottom of it. Okay, most high in Christ. So it says, listen to this. By the edict of King Manuel of Portugal in 1496, banishing the Jews from Portugal. So now it's banishing the Jews from Portugal. Mind you, these Jews that are being banished, these are Israelites. You understand? These Jews are black people. These are black men and women. And it's going to get into that in a second, but these are actually black men and women. Why that's heavy is because this says in 1496. What else was going on the other side of the world around this time? Right? When did Columbus take his sailing to America? See? While we were over there in Portugal and Spain getting banned, mind you, Columbus is actually a Spaniard. Remember that. A lot of these things go hand in hand. We don't even realize that. But Columbus was a Spaniard. He was a man of Spain. So while he's over there essentially bringing the beginning of what we would call hell to the so-called Native American brothers and sisters. We were already over here going through it with in Portugal. Now let's keep reading. It says all Jews were to be out of Portugal by October 1497, right? And we'll get to that Revelations 2 and 15 in a second. Listen to this. However, considering this matter, he decided to Christianize the Jews. You hear that? King Manoel decided to Christianize the Jews. So now we're getting into bringing that religion. When he says Christianize, he means bringing that religion of Christendom, of Christianity. That's what he's getting into right now. You understand? So now he says, he decided to Christianize the Jews, fearing the loss of a valuable population. Because guess what? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have always been a valuable people. How do we know? You don't make slaves out of dummies. You don't want the dummies to be your slaves. You ain't gonna get nothing done. Nothing. You said, so what happened between 70 AD and 1491? Don't worry, we can answer that, but let me finish this real quick, because this is going to give a lot of valuable information that a lot of people don't know. You understand? So it says, fearing the loss of a valuable population, he wanted the continued use of their knowledge and services. See, King Manoel, he knew that we were so valuable that we had knowledge and our service, the work that we put in, the way we carried ourselves, the way we conducted ourselves, it was above and beyond. Remember, this goes into the verse. Matter of fact, let's just go read it. Genesis, what is it, 12, Bobbity, great nation. Genesis 12 and 3, it says, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curse thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Meaning, this is what people miss about that verse. You have to be good to Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to get the blessing. You understand? You have to be righteous, kind to us to get the blessing of what Abraham got. If you're not that, then there's no reason to have that conversation, because then you're going to get the curses. What's the person who made the Jews Christian? It was King, so I'll spell it for you. It was by the edict of King Manoel, Manoel, of Portugal in 1496. You can look it up. So he wanted the continued use of their knowledge and services. He concluded that the only way the Jews could be tolerated in his country was to force them into the Christian faith. So guess what? There was a time where you could not get our people to serve the Christian faith. Do you know why? Because we were never a part of the Christian faith. We were always a part of following Christ, yes. But remember, we didn't call ourselves Christians. They called us Christians. Even when you look up Antioch, those were Romans calling us Christians. Not us. Those were Romans. So guess what? It's the same thing. Now you have essentially a man that comes out of the family tree of Rome. Now he's trying to put the Christendom on us. First, you had his ancestors that was calling us Christian. Now they've made a religion out of it. Now he's trying to put the religion on our ancestors. That's what you got going on right here. You understand? Now look at this. So he concluded that the only way the Jews could be tolerated in his country was to force them into the Christian faith. In March 1497, a command was proclaimed throughout Portugal for all Hebrew children between 4 and 14 years of age to be brought for baptism. You know that thing y'all do every Sunday when y'all start hopping and hooting and hollering and hooty hooty hee hoo, and then you drop yourself in the water and come up and act like something happened? We had to be forced to do that at one point in time because we knew that wasn't the way of Christ. Remember, we followed Christ. Dumping yourself in the water and coming back up, that was John's baptism. Christ's baptism was through the Spirit and through fire. You understand? That's why John, even he said, I'm not even worthy to loose his shoe. You understand? Because I can't even begin to do his baptism, but my baptism represents repentance. His baptism is repentance. You understand? So we follow Christ's baptism, meaning, I'll give you an example. I did not need any water that I had to go down in and come out of to realize that I cannot eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. So when I realized it, I took Christ's baptism and I stopped eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. Now I'm under Christ. You understand? I didn't do that thing. You said 1 Chronicles 7:14. Do you want to break down on that, or what you got? You got a question on it or what? But yeah, so that's an example of how I took Christ's baptism. I stopped eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. I stopped serving idol gods and Christmas and Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day is coming up. A lot of people just serve the god of Janus, New Year's. I stopped doing those things. You understand? You said 1 Chronicles 7:14. That is, it's baptism, Most High in Christ. You said riding with Christians, but so yeah, I am. So yes, I am an Israelite by blood and faith. But my point is to show Christians this is the beginning of your religion. This is what got us into the religion. It wasn't nothing in the Bible that made us do this. It was us being forced into this. And it's about to get a lot uglier. Can you break down Isaiah 19:21-25 that describes God's people or no? Okay, hold that. As soon as I get done reading this, we'll get to it. So remember, it said in March 1497, a command was proclaimed throughout Portugal for all Hebrew children between 4 and 14 years of age to be brought for baptism. All parents who did not bring their children voluntarily had their children taken away violently by the officials and forced into baptism. If Christianity was truly the way, don't you think they would have understood this baptism was a good thing? The exact same thing you do with your child and with your brothers and your sisters and your mom, your grandma, whoever. When you go dunk yourself under that water, is the exact thing they had to force the Hebrews that knew their culture, that knew their God, that knew Christ. They had to force them to do it. Now ask yourself, why would they have to force them to do it if it's the thing to do? Think about that. If it's the thing to do, why would they have to force these people they got more knowledge than us of this generation because they're living of the time. They know. Why did they have to force them, but you go willingly do it every Sunday? Let's keep reading. So scenes of indescribable horror were witnessed as they were torn away by the royal bailiffs. The latter did not obey their instructions too closely, frequently seizing young people of both sexes up to the age of 20. In many cases, parents smothered their offspring in their farewell embrace. Think about that, yo. It was so sincere, it was so serious to the point to where I'd rather unalive my child in my arms than go get that baptism. Remember, these are the people that's trying to enslave them. These are the people that's making this a command, doing this to them. So obviously, this wasn't a righteous thing. And these people at this time knew it's better that I unalive my loved one in my arms than to let you ever be a Christian. To let you ever be a Christian. I'm telling you right now, these people did not unalive them, their offsprings, the one that they loved, so that we could now serve the God that King Manoah wanted us to serve. No. I think we got it wrong, and I think they got it right. Let's keep reading. So in others, they threw them into wells in order to save them from the disgrace of apostasy, and then killed themselves. So the ones that didn't just unalive them here, they threw them in wells full of water, and they let their offspring drown. Because it was better that you drown knowing who you are, knowing your culture, knowing your true God and your true King, than to ever go serve their God. And their God is the Christianity that our people serve today. So understand, when you go to that Christian church on Saturday, Sunday, any day, you serving the God that King Manoah wanted us to serve. And what you're saying is, your ancestors, them babies that was unalived for the sake of us never having to serve that God, you saying it's cool. Their lives didn't mean anything. But guess what? King Manoah, your God means more to me than my ancestors. I'm sorry. I love my people too much to lie to you. Again, remember, how did we start off this class? I'm paraphrasing, but Romans 10:2, it said, for I reckon that they have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. See, I know why we go to those Christian churches. I get it. But what I'm saying is, you're serving the God of your oppressor. You're serving the God that your ancestors was ready to unalive their babies for before they ever let them serve anything of that God. Someone said, you're still talking that racist BS. Anyone that's been listening to this class, what did I say racist? Did I say hate anybody? Did I say lynch anybody? No. All I did was speak of the reality of our history. You know, the racist part is what happened to us, not what we did. What happened to us is the racist part. This is how you know it hurt that bad. Because he's talking about me talking that racist stuff, and it was your forefathers that did that to us, not us. I'm just bringing it up so my people won't make the same mistakes. That's all I'm doing. Sometimes even old men were dragged to the churches and forcibly, not willingly, forcibly baptized by overzealous fanatics. That's how they got us into the Christian church. That's how they got us serving Christianity. Had nothing to do with that being our God. Christianity is one of the first signs to show you we're not serving our God. You say, y'all makes a difference in nations. Yeah, you're right. This is another thing. If you look all throughout the Bible, the Lord separated the nations multiple times. You'll never see a point in the Bible where the Lord brought all the nations together. That anytime the nations came together, that was literally going against what God wanted. Babylon, Tower of Babel. A lot of people don't understand this, but even before the flood, when it says the sons of God came into the daughters of men, that was talking about interracial marriage. You understand? All that is nations trying to come together in ways the Lord don't want. So when are we going to get back on track and start serving the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? And when I say being separate, meaning loving our own, building our own, putting mommy and daddy back in the homes. You understand? Build our own business, investing in each other. It's the same thing they Chinese do in Chinatown. It's the same thing the so-called Jewish man do. It's the same thing that Arabs do. That when they run all these corner stores, who working for them? They people, they cousins, they brothers, they children. Every nation knows how to come together but us. And when we talk about coming together now, we're racist. It's because this country loves having their foot on our neck. This country loves having their foot on our neck. And we got to come out up under it. And I'm gonna tell you, the first step to coming out under it, or coming from up under it, is leaving their religion behind, leaving the baptism of John and coming to the baptism of Christ. And that's what we teach in ISUPK. Leave the baptism of John and come to the baptism of Christ. Serve your true God. Don't serve the God of this nation, because God himself is against this nation. You can read in Revelation where he prophesied all against this place. He prophesies all against it. You understand? So we got to come back to what he wants. I'm gonna read a little bit more into this, and then I'm gonna answer questions, and then I'm also got a couple more verses I want to get into. Now listen to this. This is, man, this is crazy. Like this book right here, it's a lot of good information in this book, but they don't bring this out. You understand? They don't teach us this, but we're gonna get into it. So I'm gonna keep reading. This is 126 of Babylon, Timbuktu. Again, any questions or comments, put it in the chat. The Jews were leaving the country in such large numbers that in 1499 and 1531, the kings published a decree forbidding the new Christians, and it even says it right here, black Jews, from leaving Portugal without special permits. So now, not only were they forcing us into this Christianity, now they didn't want us to leave, because there's like, when they was forcing us into Christianity, it was like, okay, we'll just leave. Go ahead. We'll just leave this whole country. We'll up our whole life. We got generations, 10 generations back. We've been in Portugal, but guess what? We'll just leave before we serve your God. And now the kings at that time is saying, no, you got to have a special permit to leave here. This is how we became such staunch Christians. It started here. This is a thing that took for over 400, 500, 600 years. This is why now we are such devout Christians. When we want to get our life right, first thing we do is Christianity. Even when we don't want to get our life right, we still smoking weed and doing everything. We still call ourselves Christians. This is why every rapper get up on stage. And when he get up on stage, the first person he want to thank is God. And he got this big old cross representing the unaliving of his king. Because that's what they beat into us. They beat Christianity into us. They force-fed it to us. They made us do it. That was a part of our oppression. That was a part of our slavery. If we did not take Christianity, not only were we not good slaves, we would be unalived. We would be punished. That's why you're a Christian. You're not a Christian because you're serving God. You're a Christian because you're still a good slave. That's all. And I hate to put it like this because, yes, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are Christians, I love all y'all. I ride, live, and die for you. Matter of fact, you're the reason I teach this class. But I got to be real with you. I got to be honest with you. The only reason you're a Christian is because it's been beaten into you ever since 1400s. What you think gonna happen? What's exactly happening now? All of our people love Christianity, and we swear by it. And we can't prove none of it, but we live and die by it. Let's keep reading. At this time, many Jews became Christians out of fear, not because it was the right thing to do, not because it was a religion of choice, but Jews became Christians. Remember, black Jews became Christians out of fear. Many of them, okay. Oh, they done put a restriction on me. I see that's, man, that's tough. So Lord allow, if y'all can still hear me, put a 1 in the chat. I just want to make sure we're gonna keep reading it. We're gonna keep rocking it out. Yeah, I don't know why they put all these restrictions, but the truth is it's tough. It's tough for a lot of people. Most High in Christ. Y'all still rocking with me? Most High in Christ. Let's rock it out. It says, so at this time, many Jews became Christians out of fear. Many of them were known as secret Jews, practicing Judaism in secret under the guise of Christianity. See, this is why our people just ended up soaking up that Christianity, because it was almost like we're putting on the front, like, no, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I'm a Jew secretly. You can't be an Israelite secretly. You can't be a Jew secretly. You got to live and stand on this thing. You got to be willing to die for this thing. You understand? Because we serve the Most High God. Remember, it's crazy that a brother asks, where do you go when you die? Because we just proved when we unalive, guess what? Our bodies go to the ground, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, but our spirit goes back to our God. And our God fills up another body and brings us right back here. So they can't defeat us. You understand? Matter of fact, let me get a verse. This is what, so now, Lord allow, Most High in Christ. So now, but thank you, Hadara, but I didn't get a strike on here. I guess I was good by Facebook and YouTube bylaws. But this TikTok thing, man, I don't know how to speak on here. But this, now that you understand this, maybe this verse will make a little bit more sense. So this is Matthew 10. Matthew 10 and 20. I'm going to start at 27. Because remember, they cannot defeat us by unaliving us. There are so many stories in the Bible where a lot of our people was unalive before they became Christians, before they ate pork and many other things, before they disobeyed God. You understand? You said, hell is real. I saw Martin Luther King there. Fear Allah. Now, people, this is what drugs do. Okay, I'm going to throw that up there. This is what drugs do. Hell is real. I saw Martin Luther King there. Fear Allah. The only thing I give you is if there was a hell, Martin Luther King would be there. Okay, if like a hell, like, oh my God, we're burning type hell. There is none of that. Now, the hell that we live in today is very real. I agree with that. And Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans experience it every day. You understand? Now, fearing Allah, Allah is a joke. I'll whoop Allah myself. Go get Allah. But the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's nothing to play with. That's who you truly fear. You understand? You fear the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, understanding, so now that we understand we're not going to die and go to no hell and all this, that, and the third, listen to this. When he says, Matthew 10 and 27, what I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. 28. And fear not them, listen to this, and fear not them which kill the body, which is what the Romans, you understand, the Greeks and the Romans were trying to do to us at this time. They were trying to kill the body. But remember, we were so strong in our faith, we unalive our children. We throw our children down the wells. We unalive ourselves before we became Christians. We'll move out the whole country. No, we got to go back 10 generations before we became Christian, because we had faith in the Most High in Christ. You understand? It says, fear not them which kill the body. See, they understood this, but are not able to kill the soul. Because even though they're unaliving our bodies, they lynching us, they feeding us the alligators and all this, they cannot kill the spirit. They cannot kill our souls. You understand? And that's what we got to understand when we're serving the Most High in Christ. 1 second. They're making me do this little thing. Lord. All right, there we go. So that's what we got to understand when we're serving the Most High in Christ. You understand? He said, Allah Akbar. I ain't gonna lie, that's funny. You understand? Listen, I am not an American by spirit. I'm an American by citizen. So when you put up stuff like this, I only laugh. Allah Akbar. I know that's supposed to be the Eiffel, or not the Eiffel Tower, the Twin Towers. That's funny to me. Anyway, but he says, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. See? Now, how does he do that? Does he sit like think about it? We know the body goes back to the dust. We literally physically put the body back in the dust. So we know he's not talking about sending it to a physical hell where you're burning, because literally when someone dies, you go to the funeral and watch them get put in the dust. You can bring that body back up 20 years from now, there ain't gonna be nothing but bones on there. So we know the body is technically still there. You understand? What is he saying when he says, I will destroy both soul and body in hell? He's talking about right here. Guess what? You are tormented when you understand you live in check to check. You are tormented when you strung out on drugs. You are tormented. Your soul is tormented when you looking at high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer. You understand? You're tormented when you're in debt. You're tormented when your relationships ain't going right. You are tormented when you don't know what's going on with your children. This is how, these are the things that he does to actually kill the soul and the body, because it starts off with the soul. Those things are killing your soul, your spirit, right? This is why you get depression. This is why depression is real. You understand? He's killing that spirit because you obviously ain't doing something according to the Most High God. But as he kills that spirit, guess what? It slowly but surely devours the body. And then the body will be unalived. And then that spirit is gone. You understand? That's what he means when he says, fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. You understand? You said, Prince Moshe said, that's why the forefather told them not to leave his bones in Egypt. You got to give me what verse you're talking about with that one. But Most High in Christ. Most High in Christ. So now let's get back to it. So at this time, many Jews became Christians out of fear. Many of them were known as secret Jews, practicing Judaism in secret under the guise of Christianity. In spite of all the prejudices against the Black Jews of Portugal, they excelled in all the trades, skills, professions, and businesses. The wealth of the Jews was tremendous. Portugal is a small country about the size of the state of Florida. Nevertheless, in the year 1610, the Jews alone were worth 80,000 ducats. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to look it up. But we was worth, 80 million ducats. I'm sorry, I said 80,000. We were worth 80 million ducats, y'all. Right, being cut off from them, exactly. But let's see what this ducats is. We're about to learn together on this one. It says a gold coin formerly current in most European countries. Okay. So it is worth 80 million of those. Let's see. So let me see. Ducats to USD. So like one ducat would equal what? Looks like about 50 cents, something like that. So I guess you could say we was worth $40 million. $40 million and what was it? 1600? That's worth a lot of money. $40 million in 1600. So, yeah. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna do the math to what that'd be worth today, but I'm sure we would probably be worth a couple billion today. Because 40 million in 1600, that's crazy. 40 million a day is crazy. So just think about that. That's the power of us when we know who we are, when we have our culture, when we have faith and confidence in not only each other, but in our God. This is why they force-fed us Christianity. Because as long as we stay Christian, we don't serve our God and we don't have our culture. We don't love each other. Because one thing, you can't get Black people to love each other. We love everybody but us. But when we come serve our God, it automatically makes us come back to being one. That's the only righteous way to serve our God. You understand? So we got to realize these things. You understand? We have to realize these things. So I'm gonna read one more paragraph in here. It says, the Christianity Ratzel saw among them was a disguise. The circumcision practiced among them is of Jewish derivation. The Christians in Portugal did not practice circumcision. In fact, Cecil Roth wrote that circumcision among Jews in Portugal was practically an impossibility, for its discovery was equal to a death sentence. Goodby wrote concerning the Mabumba Jews on the Loanga coast. So guess what? You could not circumcise. You could not circumcise your child if you were among these Romans, these white people. It wasn't allowed. Like they found out you circumcised your child, you would be unalived, you and the child. Because why? Because you're keeping the custom of the Jews. And if you're keeping the custom of the Jews, guess what they know? You're serving your God. You're taking the baptism of Christ and not the baptism of John. Because now you're keeping the laws of God. That's what they knew. And it was so serious to where they would unalive us. You got to realize something. If they knew it was serving our God was so vital back then that they would unalive us, why do you think we live the life we live now as far as being Christians? It's because they fought this hard for us not to do it. Imagine if you go hundreds and hundreds of years of trying to unalive a people, well, eventually they going the strong. I know they say only the strong survive, but in this situation, if you're the strong, you're probably gonna be unalived first to be exact. And once they unalive you, guess what? Now it's only those weak. When I say the weak, now you got the weak men, you got women that only want to see their children live. And a woman is not wrong for wanting that. That's the power of a woman when she's led by her man. But if you cut her man off and now the only thing she has is the people that unalived her man, oh, she's going to easily fall into, okay, I'll do whatever's needed. Okay, my son can't be circumcised. Okay, cool. Nope, he won't. Because that's the same spirit that not all, but a lot of single mothers raise their children in today. Okay, what does he have to do? Okay, he has to go here or this school. Okay, well, okay, no, vote. Okay, be a Democrat. No, be a Republican. No, do this. No, do that. No, okay, maybe you should join the army. No, it's too dangerous. Okay, but they said they're gonna do this. Okay, do that. Because there's no man to say, all right, look, don't worry, I got it. This is what he's gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. According to our God, this is how we're gonna do it. And that's what we have to come back to. I want to get another verse. Understanding this is why it says this. This is essentially what they were accomplishing the whole time. The whole time that they were forcing us to be Christians, having us unalived, all these things. This is what they knew they were coming to. They were growing to. 1 second. Matthew, that what I want. Yeah, Matthew 12 and 29. Matthew 12 and 29, it says, or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods except he first bind the strong man? See, that's what they were doing by forcing Christianity on us. That's what they were doing by making strict laws for us to be able to leave Portugal. You understand? They were binding the strong man. That's what they're doing today. You understand? When they make it easier for a woman to get government assistance instead of the man. They're binding the strong man. Everything is pushed towards that today. And I'm not mad. Hey, listen, sisters, do your thing. But don't forget, your strength is in your man. Because God is over him. And that's where your God is. That's what we forget in the dynamic today. Our God says what? It goes the Most High, Christ, man, woman. And the children are obviously under that. Well, you can't get away from that dynamic all because you have a well-paying job, or because you have a prestigious degree, or because you have great rank in the military. You can't get away from that dynamic. God said it's God, Christ, man, woman. Don't matter if that woman got a degree, um, rich, a great job, look good, whatever. That don't matter. That woman is still up under that man that she oftentimes likes to tear down, which is why there is no God for that woman outside of the God that King Manoah wanted to give to her. That's the only God she can get right now. The God that King Manoah wanted to give to her people. You're not getting the God of your forefathers, because all those women understood what? It don't matter what I got. My man is my head, and that's how we rock. Now, man being the head, understand this. All because you the head don't mean what you say go. What you say go, yes. But if it goes against God, what you say go, no. If you say, hey, baby, I'm feeling freaky tonight. Let's go get another woman. Nope. You saying, hey, you my woman. I want you to go outside and stand in the cold for an hour. No, simple stuff. No disobedience. Oh, we're gonna eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster tonight. No. As a man, it's even more vital that you learn how to be a leader under Christ. And that's what we do here, and that's what we teach here. If you can't be a leader under Christ, I wouldn't want you to have any woman. I don't care how much they like you or don't like you. If you cannot be a leader under Christ, you should not deal with any woman, because you are not good for her. You cannot help her. That's the one thing a woman needs right now. She needs her God. The woman already got degrees. She got education. She got good paying jobs. They got all the booty implants they need. They got everything. There's one thing these women don't have, and that's their God. And the only God they have access to right now is the God that King Manoah tried to give them through Christianity. And a lot of them accept it because they have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. Well, men in ISUPK, we are bringing the knowledge back into the earth. And sisters, we are the men that will make sure that all brothers, sisters, and children get the knowledge of their forefathers and of their God under Christ. I pray you understand. I don't know what that sound means, but Most High in Christ, they did not give me another restriction, so we are good. Oh, okay. Most High in Christ. I'm going to read one more verse. If anybody has any more questions, bring it out, but we're about to close it out because I'm not going to lie. General Mahaim is teaching a class, and as a man that teaches these classes, I love teaching the people, but there's only one way I can teach. I have to continually learn. And when a mighty man like General Mahaim is teaching the class, I shut up and listen. It's that simple. So I'm going to read one verse, and then if y'all got any questions, we can break it down. And then, we in Dayton, man. Get with us. Yeah, get with us. G. Martin, I see you. Get with us. Hit me in the back chat. I'll get you the information, man. Let's rock out. Let's push this truth. Let's grow in this truth. Let's grow in this knowledge. You understand? Let's get to it, man. Yeah, we in Dayton. We rocking and rolling, man. We definitely got a foundation, man. So right now, it's all about the growth. So with that, let me get to this verse real quick. All right, I do want to catch some of the General Mahaim's class. So this is why I'm reading this verse, because I want our people to remember this. Whenever we're dealing with Christianity is going to say a lot of things, but there's a reason why the Lord put this verse in the Bible and made it this plain and simple. Listen to this. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. It says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, meaning this thing called life that we go through. Let us hear the conclusion of it. What is this really all about? So whatever it's about back then in Ecclesiastes, it's still about till this day. Listen to this. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, For this is the whole duty of man. And that has not changed. The purpose of Christ was that he came back to show us how to fear God and keep the commandments. That's what he was fulfilling, showing us how to fulfill it. That's what his baptism was about. That's why we are baptized by fire. What's that fire? The trials and tribulations of life, trying to get back to the Most High in Christ. What do I mean? If you smoke, guess what? You got to stop smoking. Well, guess what? You're going to go through a fire. It's going to hurt to stop smoking, but you got to stop doing it. And guess what? If you need help doing that, you got brothers and sisters right here in the ISUPK in every city near you. You understand? If you got a problem, if you just love politics, well, you got to leave them politics alone, because them politics don't serve your God. You got to leave that thing alone. You understand? Maybe you love the military. You got to stop. Hey, this military ain't for you. The Lord is about to come up against this military. When the Lord send Christ back, don't you understand this military is going to be wondering what in the world they can do, what G4, anything they can throw at the Lord and his people to stop them? That day is coming. You got to get up out of that thing and get on the right side, the Lord's military. That's what you see right here in the ISUPK. We are the men of God. We will serve him. Don't worry, Daddy. Be there in a minute. And we're going to serve him. That thing we're going to do. And that's what Christ came to show us, how to fear God and keep his commandments. You understand? So with that, I'm going to check, see if I have any more questions. Yeah, again, we are in Dayton. So like I said, get with us. You can rock it out. Where we are here. You said Isaiah 19 and 21. All right, let's go here real quick. What's your question about Isaiah 19? Okay, can you explain on the premise that I know Israel is the chosen people? Okay, no sweat. Let me hold on 1 second. One second. One second. Give me one such precept I'm looking for. Patience, born again. That's not it, is it? Israel. Okay. All right. Okay. Isaiah 19 and 20 and 21. 19 and 21. I'm gonna start at 20. Let's start at 19. Isaiah 19 and 19. In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. So now it says, there shall be, hold on 1 second. It says, in that day, Lord, stop popping up. It says, in that day there shall be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt. So that's telling you right now, that's giving you the context of who this is talking about. It's saying there will be an altar in the midst of Egypt. Look at it no different today. The ISUPK is an altar or a safe house or a place of worship in the midst of America. It's the exact same thing. The exact same thing. So I'm trying to show you that. So as we read, you'll see how what this is really talking about. So verse 20, and it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. And that's what the ISUPK is. In the land of Egypt or America, we are a sign for those people. Hey, wake up. Hey, you're not American. Hey, you were enslaved here. Hey, there is better coming to serve your Lord. Stop serving the God of your oppressor, of your slave master. Serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The exact same thing that they had there is the exact same thing you have right here. You're watching this right now live. This is what you're watching. So, for they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them. Now it says, they shall cry to the Lord because of the oppressors. The oppressors were the Egyptians and the Assyrians. Those were the oppressors. Just like today, for us, the oppressors is the Americans. You understand? It's the exact same thing. So keep that in mind. Let's keep reading. And he shall send them a savior, a great one, and he shall deliver them. Verse 21, and the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation. Yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it. So now, the exact same way that the Lord shall be known to Egypt, the Lord shall be known to America. And as you see, whether you like it, whether they like it or not, that's exactly what's happening. The Lord is known to America, and that's why a lot of Americans are coming back to their nationality. So now they are no longer called American or African American. Call me a Hebrew, call me an Israelite. That's exactly what's going on here. And the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day and shall do sacrifice and oblation. The only people that do sacrifice and oblation are Israelites. I'll prove it. And then we'll keep reading. I'll read you what I read earlier. What do I want? Hebrews 9 and 15. Listen to this. And for this cause, he's the mediator of the New Testament, talking about Christ, right? He's the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, listen to this, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament. Who's under the first testament? We know the only people that were under the first testament were what? The children of Israel. The children of Israel were the only people under the first testament. So this is also how we know Christ is only in the New Testament dealing with the children of Israel. And under the Old Testament, it was for sure the only people that he was dealing with was the children of Israel. So now when we go back, understanding that the only people he was dealing with was the children of Israel. Where we at? 19 and what we say 21. So now when he says, and the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation, yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it. He's talking about the Israelites that were in Egypt living as Egyptians. Just like today, you have Israelites in America living as Americans. The Lord, of course, is going to call them Americans because they ain't Israelites. They got to get their life right. They still serving Christianity. I ain't calling you, not calling you a Judite. I'm not calling you a Benjamite. You're a Christian. You're an American. You see white Jesus and lose your mind. You're an American. It's that simple. And that's the exact same thing he's doing here. Those Egyptians were Israelites living as Egyptians, and that's why he's calling them Egyptians. The exact same reason he calls them Egyptians, the exact same reason we call black men and black women and Hispanic men and Hispanic men American. The exact same thing. 22, and the Lord shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord. That's another sign he's talking about Israel. How are you going to return to the Lord when we can read from Isaiah and everything before this to see Egypt has been nothing but an enemy to God? You can't return to something you were never a part of. There's only one way to return. You had to be there in the first place. I cannot return to Canada. I've never been to Canada. I've never been a part of Canada or Canadian culture. I cannot return to Canada. You understand? I can return to Cincinnati. I can return to Cincinnati. I've been there. I was born there. I can return there because I've been there. I was there. Can't return to something you're not or something you've never been a part of. You understand? So there's certain words and clues in here. He's letting you know who he's truly talking about. This is why you got to have the Spirit of the Lord. It says, and the Lord shall smite Egypt. He shall smite and heal it, meaning punish and heal them and return them. The punishment was being under that oppressor that it talked about in what was the verse 20 when it says unto the Lord because of the oppressors. That was the punishment. You understand? That was him smiting us in Egypt. Then he said he'll heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them and shall heal them. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. So at this time, you had us enslaved or oppressed under Egyptians and Assyrians. You can look this up in history. And the Lord is saying, y'all going to come up out of that, up under those oppressors. There's going to be a highway back and forth, meaning there's that knowledge of what we're given now is going to go throughout the earth or throughout those two nations. Meaning, okay, we're Israelites over here, we're Israelites over there. We got to live according to our God over here. We got to live according to our God over there. It doesn't matter if we're in Assyria or in Egypt. We got to live according to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. There's a highway. There's a flow. There's a movement. The same thing you see happening here in America. There's a highway. There's a flow. All across America. It can be from California to New York, from Minnesota to Texas, even South America. We can even go into England because we got schools over there. There's a flow. So guess what? I don't care if you're considered to be a man of England, Mexico, Mexican, Californian, Daytonian, wherever you're from, guess what? It's time to come back to the truth. That's what it's talking about. We can keep reading. 24, in that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land. And the only way we can be a blessing in the midst of the land is if we're serving our God. You understand? Meaning now all our people are coming back together being one. The Egyptians that are Israelites, the Assyrians that are Israelites, are coming back together being one with Israel at this time, because we still had brothers in Israel at this time. That's what this is talking about. Is there any more questions on that? Again, you have to make the Bible real life. When I say make it, meaning that's the Bible. The Bible is real life. If you don't understand it from a real life point of view, you're not going to understand the Bible. It's not going to make sense. You said, so the Egyptian Israelites, Assyrian Israelites, and actual Israelites. They're all Israelites. But remember what it said. Listen to this. Hold on. We'll read it one more time. Because it didn't say Israelites. It said this. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria. Meaning these were the big captivities that our people were under. Egypt and Assyria. That's why I say in a third, because we got look at it like a third of our people is in Israel, a third of our people is in Assyria, a third of our people in Egypt, and now we're going to be one again. The whole thing with the Lord is making Israel one people again. But at this time, Egypt and Assyria had us in bondage, and he's saying he's going to bring us back into that fold of being one with Israel. So it's not about Egypt, Israelites, this, that, and the third. Israel was a place. Egypt was a place. Assyria is a place. All our people are in those captivities, and we're coming back to being one. That's all it's saying. Whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hand, and Israel, mine inheritance. Right. Right. Egypt, his people. That's another sign, because we know who his people is. You said, that's well, okay. If I'm wrong, make it make sense. because he literally just called the Egyptians his oppressor a couple verses up. When has Egypt ever been called his people? Show me any other verse that can give me context on that. Because if I just read this for what it is, I would be lost. It makes no sense. How is Egypt your people when you just said they're the oppressors? He literally just said, and it shall be a sign for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt, for they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors. So make that make sense. When was Egypt ever his people? You answer that question, and hey, you got it. But help me out. When has Egypt ever been the Lord's people? Name one time. It's no different than saying America, my people. No, don't say never, because if you say never, then you're making this a lie. Off of your understanding, you're saying never. You're saying never, but it says, whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people. When was Egypt his people? You can't say never and then try to make me believe this is talking about Egypt being his people, because then even your logic doesn't make sense. Is it never, or is Egypt his people? And if so, when? When did Egypt ever do the Most High's work? Show me in context, anywhere in history or context where Egypt ever did the Most High's work. Egypt was the place, even in the Bible. Listen, you can go to Exodus 20:2, and this is what the Lord called Egypt. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. The Lord has always looked at Egypt as a house of bondage to his people. Why? So are you saying the Lord changed? Are you saying the Lord changed? Because the Lord called Egypt a house of bondage. Are you saying the Lord changed? The Lord didn't look at Egypt as a house of bondage no more. Is that what you're saying? Come on. Did the Lord change his mind? That's the question on hand. Did the Lord change his mind? It's a simple question. The Lord said, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Is Egypt a house of bondage to the Lord, or did the Lord change his mind and now Egypt is his people? Which one is it? You're talking about, I got a word association. You can't even make your logic make sense. You can't even make your logic. But I'm the one that's wrong. No, Egypt didn't. He's Lord's word. That doesn't even make sense. And this is why you got to leave Christianity alone, people. It don't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Everything I just broke down made perfect practical sense. Meaning, oh yeah, okay, I could see it because everybody's American, but the Lord's chosen people would be American too, and all they got to do is stop being American. Just like the Egyptians at that time, Lord chosen people, they just got to stop being Egyptians. It's the same thing. This is why is not America called spiritual Egypt? To this day, in Revelation, doesn't he call this land spiritual Egypt? Am I lying? And if he calls it spiritual Egypt, was that him calling it a blessing, a good thing? Was he saying spiritual Egypt as in, yes, be like them because those became my people? I acknowledge that those are talking about Israelites in Egypt and Assyria and in Israel. That's exactly what it's talking about. And you can't prove that it's not talking about them. You can't. You still make no sense. Because the Lord said Egypt was a house of bondage. The Lord even got laws saying don't even be like them. Don't even take their practices. You said, where does it say Israelites in Egypt? It doesn't have to say Israelites in Egypt because it says my people. When he says my people, there's only one people that were ever his people. It's not, it's reality. I'll get the verse for you. So let me help you out. You know, I understand. Wisdom ain't a part of your lifestyle. Let me help you out. I got you. I'm going to get it in the Old Testament and the New Testament for you. Exodus 3:10. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. Because they were living as Egyptians, but then guess what? Moses rounded them up, just like that verse talked about. You understand? He rounded them up just like that verse talked about, and had them stop being Egyptians and come back to being the Israelites. You understand? Let's get it in the New Testament. Matthew 2:6. Matthew 2:6. And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. The only people that are his people are the children of Israel. You cannot prove where anybody else has ever been called his people. So when he says my people, that's for his people to realize who he's talking about. You probably don't realize it because you're probably not his people. And with that, I'm Priest and Officer Yahweh Thumb of the ISUPK. This has been a class on the history of Christianity, and this brother has been an example of the dangers of Christianity. With that, I say, Shalom. Peace, Israel.